Hi everyone, I'm just going for a little walk on the snow. You know, it's not very many winters here in Maine that you can walk around in the snow without snowshoes. I'm walking right on the snow, walking on frozen water. Oh, it's been kind of chilly here in Maine, but it's actually warmer today. Today is, I'll turn around this way, maybe you can see me better. Today it's around 15 degrees, and actually that's pretty warm considering the last couple days. The chill factor has been down around 30 to 35 below zero Fahrenheit, so that's pretty cold. I came out here yesterday out to our cabin, and I just walking out and back, and it's not too far from our house, but by the time I got back to the house my legs were starting to get kind of numb. But we're used to it up here. I mean, not that kind of cold, but we're used to the cold. Like today, 15 degrees. It's kind of cool, you know. I'll go inside here in just a few minutes. It's not that bad, but I tell you, when it gets up around 25 to 30 degrees, that's like t-shirt weather for us. No, not exactly, but it does feel warm when you get up around 30, but it won't be long now. Spring is coming, and it's going to be really nice. It's going to be so nice to see spring. But I just I wanted to show you this. I can't get over. I guess you can't really see me that good, but I'm walking on the snow. Oh, well, I was walking on the snow. By and large, you can just walk around on top of the snow. It's crazy because you can't usually do this. It's just it's pretty neat. I wanted to share a story something that really happened quite a few years ago now. It was really neat. I think I'll share it inside because it is a little bit nippy when you stay up here for very long. But I'll be right back in a few minutes. Well, it's much warmer inside. This is more like it. The sun is just setting now, and out my front window here. But it is going to be nice when it warms up. Anyways, I wanted to share this this story. It's a true story. I shared on my last video that down through the years, like before YouTube, I had a lot of different experiences with things that the Lord has done in my life, and He has been so good through the years, and He led me down through the years to where I am today. And everything that happens in my life, it's because of it's 100% because of Jesus, because of what He has done. But I remember this is a really neat story, and it's kind of strange, really. I would say this is probably right up there with one of the strangest stories that I've ever told. It's really different, but you know, I believe in a God that works with signs and wonders, and this was certainly one of those times. Signs and wonders. I was working in a town that's handy, not too far from where I live, and I was working for a contractor, and we were doing some construction on a business there. So there was like a storefront to this business with a lot of windows, of course, like a lot of storefronts. They usually have windows all across the front. Anyways, that's what this was like. And I was working inside. They were doing some renovations with, oh, I don't know, there must have been 4 or 5 of us all together working there. Maybe 5 or 6. I can't remember the exact amount of guys that was working there. But of course, whenever I work out anywheres, wherever I've worked, people know that I'm a Christian. They know that a lot of people would consider me a very religious kind of a guy. Well, I just know Jesus. That's all. He's my closest friend, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed for people to know that I'm a Christian, because I'm very proud of what Jesus did for not just for me, but for everybody, for mankind. If it wasn't for Jesus, none of us would have a chance of salvation at all. But I was working with these guys in the storefront. Just about every day, there was this certain man that would walk across the front of this business, and you could tell that he was handicapped. You could tell, but he walked by quite often, just about every day or every other day, and he would walk right along quickly. He was he would walk right along quite fast, but he seemed to be focused. Right straight ahead on whatever. I don't know where he was going, but he seemed to be very focused on wherever he was going. But I remember this one day, I was clear to the back of this business, this room, and all the other guys was near the door, kind of thing, working away at stuff. And I happened to see him coming, and he was walking right along the same as he always did, like he was determined, and focused on something, whatever he was thinking. But he went right along this certain day. He was walking right along, and then he walked right over to the door, and he knocked on the door. We had no idea what he wanted. And one of the guys answered the door. He opened the door up, and if I remember correctly, he said something like he wanted to stop and say hello to his friend. And we had no idea. I heard him. I was close enough so that I heard what he said, but I was way to the back. I was the one nearest the wall in the back. And I was wondering who it was that he knew in there. Well, he opened the door and let him in, and he walked right by each one that was there working. And at that point, everybody had just dropped what they were doing. They were just wondering, what's going on here? And he walked right by everybody, and then he walked right up to me. And he said, this is what he said, if I remember correctly. He said something like this anyway. He stuck his hand out to shake my hand, and he said, "How you doing, friend?" And I remember shaking his hand, And I said, "Well, I'm doing good. How about you?" And he said, "Good." And then he turned quickly and walked back out. And it was the strangest thing, because I had no idea. And he just left, and one of the guys there asked me, "Mark, did you ever meet him before? Do you know this guy?" And I looked at them and I said, "I never met this guy in my life. I don't know who he is." Well, before that, everybody was kind of joking around and working away and having a good old time. But after I said that, it was like dead silence for at least a half an hour to 3/4 of an hour. Nobody said a word. Nobody said anything. You could have heard a pin drop on a rug floor. And that's one of the strangest things that I've ever had happened. But to me, that was like a sign and a wonder from heaven. There was somebody in that room that God wanted to. They all knew that I was a Christian. They knew that I loved the Lord and that Jesus was in my heart. There was somebody there that really needed to see that, to witness that. It had nothing to do with me. I was the Christian. I'm a child of God. But this was a work of God. It was a sign or a wonder to those men working there. You know, I always remember that, and I was thinking about that just last week, so I thought, well, you know, I need to share that. I have a lot of other stories too, a lot of different things that God has done down through the years. So never underestimate the light that you are, where you are, because you just never know. And you never know when something kind of strange. I mean, that was really strange what happened there. You never know when something like that's going to happen in your life, because I'm no different than anyone else. I'm a child of God, but I'm just a man. But Jesus, He is the Son of God, and He can do anything. And He wants to reach people, and He wants to use you where you are. You don't always have to preach and quote scriptures and things like that to people. People know. They know that you're a Christian, believe me, they know. You know, it was kind of funny later on. You know, one of the guys, they actually told me, you know, Mark, I really wondered if that was an angel that came in that day. And I have to say, I kind of wondered myself. I really did. I wondered, do you suppose that would have been an angel? But it was kind of funny because, it was years down the road, but I went to this church for a special meeting. And wouldn't you know, I saw this guy that he's handicapped, you know, but back then he was walking. But I saw this man again, but this time he was in a wheelchair. But you know, that's not the funny part, of course. But it's too bad. I don't know what happened that he ended up in a wheelchair. But I walked over to him, and this is the kind of a funny part. I walked over to him and I said to him, "You remember me?" And he looked at me and said, "I don't know you." You know, it's amazing how God used him. It really is. It's amazing. It truly is amazing. You know, down through the years, I've got a lot of different stories of people, you know, that are handicapped. Like when I used to do a lot of singing. I'd go from, you know, church, whether it was a church or an auditorium or wherever the place was to sing. But you know, a lot of times I would meet people that I never met before, like people with Down syndrome and people that were handicapped, and you know, they're the nicest, purest hearted people that you can meet. And they all seem to be a lot of times when I'd go to these places, especially handicapped people and little children would seem to be attracted to me, and they really wanted to meet me. So I'd go and shake their hand or say hello or whatever. But I just thought that was really neat, you know. I love people like that because they're so pure-hearted. Little kids or the handicapped, they're very, very pure-hearted. But anyway, I wanted to share those things with you. You know, that man, he might have been handicapped, but you know, I believe that God had a mission for him in life, and that was definitely a mission that he was faithful, and it was fulfilled. It was for a sign and a wonder to somebody that probably was an unbeliever or maybe not living for the Lord, and they needed to see that. But you just never know. If you have somebody in your family or somebody that you know that is handicapped, you just don't know what God is going to do with them in their life. A situation just like what I explained, or hard to say what, but God can use anyone. He can use anyone for His glory. So I just wanted to share that with you folks, and thank you so much for watching and for listening. And God is so good, isn't He? And I feel warm now inside. God bless each and every one of you, and you take care until next time.